Well, hopefully the Detroit Tigers actually play a baseball game today. That would be a great step in the right direction. We'll talk about the doubleheader. We're going to talk about the biggest takeaways from the season, albeit only 4 games in so far. And then we'll talk about the home opener this weekend. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, April 4th, 2024. What is that? 4424. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Thursday. No episode yesterday, obviously, with back-to-back rainouts. So we're going to have a discussion today. No game yesterday still, but hopefully games will be played today. We have a doubleheader scheduled in New York today on Thursday. We'll talk about that. We'll preview that later on toward the end of the show. We're also going to talk about the weekend because we won't have time to do a full preview of the home opener tomorrow, considering we'll be talking about 2 baseball games, hopefully. So we're going to kind of preview the entire weekend on today's show. And we're going to start off, though, by talking about kind of the biggest takeaways from the season. Now, we are 4 games in, okay? I'm not trying to make an overreaction episode or anything. And I'm going to try to avoid performance-based conversations with this because it is still so early in the season, right? So if you're, I am right there with you. If you're thinking it's way too early to jump to any big conclusions about the year yet, 4 games in, I completely agree. Okay, I am not trying to do that whatsoever. So we're going to try to avoid performance-based stuff like, Torgelson's going to have an OPS in the 300s this year, or Green's going to have an OPS in the 300 or 400s this year, or Kenta Maeda is going to be like a 6 or 7 ERA like pitcher all season. Like, we're going to avoid those conversations, but I do think some things got answered already. Questions that we had going into the season out of spring, right? That was one of our last episodes of spring training was, biggest question marks and biggest things we still have to find out going into the year. So I think we have some answers. We're going to talk about those. And then I think that some questions are either still lingering or have just been completely thrown in there that we didn't really consider before based on the usage early on. So it's going to be more of that, more of decision-making type of conversations. Okay, so let's start off with the closer role. That is an answer. That is absolutely, and again, I know AJ doesn't like using the term closer, so we'll say highest leverage reliever. That was one of the big question marks coming out of camp for this team was, who is the 9th inning guy? Who is going to be the highest leverage reliever on this team going into the season? It is undoubtedly Jason Foley. There's no really if, and, or buts about it. There's no conversation. Now, there's still matchups that will be played, right? Foley in his career has struggled a little bit more against lefties because he's not a big swing and miss guy. But again, this season, the stuff just looks so good. And he's getting strikes on it, whether it's called strikes or swing and miss strikes. So I think that is without a doubt something that we can say, and that's subject to change. We have 158 games remaining. Okay. Very much subject to change. Not saying that any of these are necessarily 100% set in stone all season. But as far as the immediate future, the next few weeks to a month, maybe even longer, I would be surprised if Jason Foley wasn't just the go-to in highest leverage reliever situations. Okay. Now, a question that has been birthed from Jason Foley being an answer is, what is Alex Lang's future on this team? What is his role? what does he need to do to get, well, that one's self-explanatory. What does he need to do to get back into higher leverage situations is probably throw strikes. I think that that's a pretty simple way to look at that. But, there was a point in the middle and really second half of spring training where he did look better and he was throwing a lot more strikes. He was throwing the ball in the zone a lot more. And so I think that has kind of become a question. Now, some of you are just like, you know what? I'm tired of him. He's not throwing strikes. I'm completely, that is an answer for me. He's not going to be in my high leverage situations. I've already seen some people say like, option Lang or DFA Lang or whatever. That's not going to happen. The stuff moves too much, at least right now. Look, if he can't get the walks under control by, late June, early July, we're talking like the All-Star breaks approaching, then that might become a conversation. But in the immediate future, the question that I have is really just what kind of situations are they actually going to put him out there in? Is he going to get a even remotely high leverage situation in the foreseeable future? Or is it going to be, you have to prove it to me at this point that you can even remotely fill the strike zone? Because regular season sample size, it's not good and really hasn't been for most of his major league career outside of like April and May of last season. So that's now a question that I have. And again, the answer to what he needs to do is pretty self-explanatory. Throw balls in the strike zone a lot more than he is. Another one that I think is a question is Gio Urshela's usage. Now, on this show, a lot of people when Urshela was signed were like, oh, well, there's your starting everyday third baseman. And on this show, we talked about, I don't think that that's really the case. I don't think that, 1 year, 1.5 mil, I don't think that's just hand over the keys to third base money. And so far this season, he has certainly not been that. Now, he clearly, throughout his entire career, really has hit lefties much better than righties. And they really, but the thing is, they have a lot of guys that hit righty that play third. Matt Vierling, righty. Andy Ibanez, righty that they love playing. We'll get to him later against left-handed pitching. Gio Urshela, obviously a righty that hits lefties very well. So unless Zach McKinstry is going to play in over 100 games and just get the keys to third base whenever a righty is on the mound, which seems rather unlikely, then my question becomes, who is going to be the righty bat that gets the most opportunities against righties at third base? And I think that Urshela he's not going to get you any power. There is very little pop in that bat. You can tell just eye tests, stats, etc., whatever you want to do, just looking at it. Not a lot of thump in there, but he's hit for a good average most of his major league career and did in the spring training and has been putting the bat on the ball so far in the regular season. Again, 4 games, not trying to overreact to anything. So and to prove that I'm not trying to overreact to anything, this is a question, not an answer. I am very curious on what third base is going to look like from the platoon perspective. And that kind of clumps into an answer as well about third base. We'll get into that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home a huge win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Also got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best in the business, and they are the definition of clutch. Game Time is now also an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. prices on the Game Time app automatically go down the closer it gets to first pitch. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals as well. You can just select seats ahead of the game or event and see if they have any flash deals. They have zone deals as well, where you choose the section. Game Time chooses the seat and gives you a discount. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. And also my favorite part, the Game Time guarantee, where if you find a seat in the section and row for less at a different place, they will credit you 110% of the difference. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, and for a limited time, all users can get $20 off of any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. All one word, that's First Pitch, for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow recapping a doubleheader against the New York Mets. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. All righty. So talking about questions and answers that have either been answered or questions that have started so far in the young season already. You know, talking about third base, we obviously had the conversation about Gio Urshela there before the break, but I think that that also is paired with an answer, right? Because we haven't just seen Urshela every single day, or Veerling at third every single day, really very much at all, or Ibanez, McKinstry, etc. Anybody that's a part of that platoon, because we haven't seen a fixture there at third, I think that we do have our answer that it is going to be a platoon situation. And for a lot of you, that was self-explanatory, but there was, again, going back to the Urshela conversation, a conversation, I just said conversation about 16 times. There was a consensus, was the word I was looking for, rather, by a lot of people that Urshela was just going to get handed over the keys. And I think early on, we're seeing it's going to be way more matchup based. Now, if Urshela starts hitting righties decently well, then it's over and it's wraps, and he is going to play almost every single game. But I think that they really want Andy Ibanez in there, and I don't think they want Colt Keith to be a strict lefty-righty platoon either, which would open up Ibanez getting more opportunities at third. I think that there are a lot of questions out of third base, okay? Leadoff spot is another big question I have after 4 games. The biggest question involving this is simply, can Parker Meadows hang? That's really it. Because if he can't, then there's a huge conversation about who is the most effective leadoff hitter on this ball club, right? Who on a night-to-night basis, and maybe it's just, again, situation-based. AJ loves doing that anyway. That's probably what will end up happening. We've already seen Andy Ibanez bat leadoff and really just not be afraid to bat anywhere in the lineup when a lefty is on the mound. So I think the big question, though, is just simply how good will Parker Meadows be in the batter's box? And that'll kind of determine that, because in a perfect world, he is the ideal leadoff hitter. He doesn't chase out of the zone. He works the count. He draws walks, and he is one of the fastest players in the sport. That is the prototype leadoff hitter in today's day and age. You want a high OBP guy that can run. That is exactly what he has the potential to be. So I think that is kind of, again, when it comes to my question involving who's going to be the leadoff hitter, we know that Torque and Green are going to get a lot of spots, a lot of looks rather, in the 2 and 3 spot. Canna is obviously going to be somewhere between 4, 5, 6, right? Carpenter, when a righty is on the bump, is going to be in the heart of the lineup, 2, 3, 4, somewhere around there. We know all that. Leadoff hitter's still a question mark, I think, going forward. And again, all of these will be answered at some point. This is just 4 games in, kind of knee-jerk, the questions and answers that I have. Another answer is Andy Ibanez's usage, and that's not position-wise. That's not, oh, he's going to play second or third. They will just find a way to put him in the lineup against lefties. They are going to find a way. AJ Hinch absolutely loves Andy Ibanez, I think. And not only is he going to get opportunities against lefties, they are not going to be afraid to put him in the heart of the lineup or the top of the lineup. They have so much confidence in Andy Ibanez in the batter's box when a lefty is on the mound that they will just do anything in their power to find a way to get him in a lineup. So that's another thing. And then, biggest question left is kind of the offense. And that is not a new one. That's not a new question. We've been talking about that since the winter, right? The offense is off to another relatively slow start. Now, it hasn't come at the expense of wins and losses yet, which is nice and refreshing. But we're not going to go 162-0. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know that some people are keeping that dream alive. It's obviously not going to happen. So what is going to be what does the offense need to do to not allow when they start losing for the losses to pile up or for this to not just be a fluke start to the season? How high is the ceiling of this offense? How long is it going to take to get going? Last year, really the last 3 years, 2022, it never got going. And that's everybody's, deepest nightmare. But in 2021 and 2023, it got going kind of in mid-May and then was much better the remainder of the year. So is that going to be the case? Is it just the offense is cursed in April, weather, whatever you want to blame it on? Torque and Green, obviously the catalyst for this offense. This offense will go as far as Torkelson and Green will take it. If these guys are 800 plus OPS type of hitters this season, we're talking about an offense that could be pretty solid. And then obviously you have the youngsters too. You have Colt Keith and Parker Meadows, their first full seasons. There's obviously going to be questions surrounding them and how much they're going to contribute. They're obviously very key factors. But at the end of the day, those two guys who have gotten off to slow starts are going to be big reasons for how good this offense is going to be this season. Maybe the biggest reason. So those are questions that I have early on about the offense. And then we'll end on just the AL Central, really. I don't think anything has really been answered, but all of the questions that I haven't been debunked either. Does that make sense? Like, for instance, the Twins. Okay, we know that they're talented, but all of their core has trouble staying on the field. All of them. And I feel so bad for Royce Lewis. I'm hoping and wishing him a speedy recovery because he's just so fun to watch when he is on the field. But their entire offensive core is pretty much just made up of exclusively guys who have had a lot of trouble staying on the field. Buxton, Correa, Lewis, go down the line. So opening day too, just running like that. That's so disappointing. So I'm hoping and obviously wishing for a very speedy recovery from him. But that's something that is going to be a huge question mark for the Twins. The Royals will definitely be better. I guess that's somewhat of an answer. We kind of knew that was the case. They had a great offseason, but how much better is still a question. I don't think they're going to be legitimate players for this division. The Guardians will be around. Their offense is terrible. Their pitching's great. Okay, move on. Great. Nothing's changed there. The White Sox are going to be really bad. And I think that the consensus was they're going to be one of the worst teams in the American League and going to be pretty comfortably the worst team in the AL Central, but they might give anybody in baseball a run for worst team in the league this year, legitimately. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything. Again, there have been some things that have been answered, like that closer question got answered real quick within 2 games. We're like, okay, 3 games. Jason Foley is, I guess, the highest leverage reliever. Then there's some things like, again, third base, the platoon, some things on the usage side as well that I think there's still questions for. So obviously voice your opinion, let it be known, what, if you have answers that you think some of these questions are answered, if you think some of these answers are still questions, et cetera, et cetera. I'm so glad baseball is back, and I'm glad that we're finally having conversations. We haven't played in, 2 days because Mother Nature, but I'm so glad that we're finally having conversations about the team in front of us, and it's not a future thing. It's about what's happening right now. Makes me very happy. All right, let's preview the weekend. We will do that right after this. Going to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. We love Prize Picks here, and spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Pick entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Prize Picks has something for every sports fan, from baseball to basketball, League of Legends even, and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. You know, with baseball season officially being back, there's some really fun ones to get in on, just the action over there. One of the ones that is the most popular, one of the players that's the most popular to look at Prize Picks in all of baseball is just Mookie Betts, because he is off to a scorching start. I think I saw he's already been worth over a WAR, like over one win in WAR. Remarkable. So you can take a look at, total bases, more or less, for Mookie Betts. It's 1.5 on Wednesday. It might be some to look at for more. And then obviously, hopefully getting a full season of Aaron Judge, but Juan Soto has gotten off to a great start. That outfield looking really, really fun in New York as well. So you can even do more or less on fantasy baseball, like points with Prize Picks. It's a lot of fun. So download the app today and get in on the action by using code LOCKEDONMLB for your first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. So let's talk about the weekend ahead. So we will start by talking about today, which is the doubleheader against the Mets. Sounds like a traditional doubleheader. First game, I think, will be played at noon or 12:30. Yeah, 12:10 Eastern will be game one. And then whatever it is, half an hour, I think, is traditional doubleheader rules these days. So half an hour, 45 minutes after that game ends, the second game will start. The pitching announcement is very interesting to me. So Casey Mize is going to start game one. I'm happy about that. I'm glad that we're not just skipping him in the rotation, because they really could have. They are going to give Mize game one. We'll see him pitch for the first time in about 2 years. Very, very excited. I'm sure he is going to be adrenaline flowing and anxious and jittery, etc. So I'm wishing him the best of luck. That'll be really fun to see. Game two, naturally in the rotation, would have been Tarek Skubal. Instead, the Tigers are going to use their 27th man, which you get for every doubleheader. You can call up somebody from AAA and get one extra player on your roster. Pretty much everybody uses a pitcher, because that makes sense for playing 2 games in one day. That 27th man will not only be Matt Manning. Matt Manning will start game 2 for the Detroit Tigers. Now, there's a few things here. One, anytime you're playing 2 games in one day, even with the 2 off days before, the rotation can get a little wonky. But I do think that this is really smart by AJ Hinch and co, because now, not only are you giving Manning an early season opportunity at the major league level, he'll inevitably get sent back down right after the game ends, but you are giving him an opportunity at the major league level to showcase that good, improved stuff we saw in spring training against a big league lineup in a game that matters. But it also allows for this weekend series, Tarek Skubal to pitch the home opener on Friday, which was not originally even remotely the plan. I think we were going to be, third in the rotation on Friday. So now Skubal gets to be your opening day starter and your home opener. And not just from like a marketing, like the Tigers are going to sell out on opening weekend anyways, right? Or on opening day, especially the home opener. Like they didn't need Tarek Skubal to pitch the home opener, but it gives you, after 2 off days and a doubleheader, a nice just complete reset to the rotation, which I think is perfect. Absolutely perfect. So they travel home. They'll play Oakland. It'll be, I'm assuming the rest of the order will remain the same. So it'll be Skubal Friday, Maeda Saturday, and Jack Flaherty on Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday will be hopefully, again, Olsen and Mize, and the rotation can get just reset, because then on Wednesday, you have an off day, a scheduled off day. So assuming no, which is a tough assumption this time of year in the Midwest, but assuming there's no rainouts in Detroit this weekend or in Pittsburgh in the 2-game series Monday, Tuesday, you can just have 5 straight games and go through your rotation exactly one time, get another off day, and then start the rotation over again post off day next Wednesday. So I think that this is very, very smart. I think it's beautiful. And I'm really excited to see Matt Manning and Casey Mize tomorrow. The Oakland series. The Oakland A's are not good. This is no surprise to anybody. If any of you had the pleasure of watching that series against the Boston Red Sox, you should be entitled to financial compensation. That was absolutely absurd. I mean, they had, 5 errors in the first 4 innings against the Red Sox. And look, the A's have some pieces. And I know that I'm not trying to be an apologist for the A's. Trust me, they are really bad. You should beat them handily, at least take 2 of 3, if not sweep them. Okay. If you lose this series, we're going to be very upset on Monday. They do have some nice pieces on the offensive side of the ball, especially. Okay. The pitching, however, is really not great. It sounds like, again, barring a change-up in their rotation or a rain-out where their rotation gets shuffled, you're going to see J.P. Sears, Paul Blackburn, and Joe Boyle. J.P. Sears, I actually liked when he was in the Yankees system. I was decently high on him back in the day. He was a part of the Frankie Montas trade, right? Luis Medina, Lou Trevino, Ken Waldachuk, right? Like that. He was a part of that deal and just hasn't really figured it out in Oakland. 2 years ago, he wasn't bad, put together a decent season, but the peripherals weren't very good. He gives up a lot of hard hit fly balls, and that is not usually a recipe for a lot of success. He's mostly fastball slider. He's also a lefty that last season got obliterated against lefties. So if there was ever an opportunity to get Kerry Carpenter or Colt Keith or Parker Meadows, your young lefties, some opportunities against a left-handed pitcher, I think that this is it. And that's something that I'm really looking out for this weekend. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be red in the face mad if the AJ still does the righty-heavy lineup. But I think if there was ever an opportunity, this is it. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Paul Blackburn, who we're facing in Game 2, actually went 7 shutout innings against Cleveland. Looked pretty solid. Only 3 strikeouts, I guess. A lot of weak contact. He's kind of Erod-like. He doesn't have a ton of strikeout stuff, but he doesn't get hit very hard. Has a lot of pitches that just he can tunnel together and just move a little bit. So that might be a frustrating game, especially with how well he's already pitched in his first start of the season against a division rival. So we'll see, but that could be a frustrating, lot of ground ball type of game. So hopefully they come in with a good game plan there. And then Joe Boyle, I loved at Notre Dame. He was a 2020. Was he a part of that weird draft class in 2020? I think he got absolutely rocked in his first start. I think he only went 2 2/3 innings. I don't think he made it out of the third. Throws gas. Okay, this guy can light up the radar gun. The problem is he's pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the secondary stuff, but he pretty much is fastball, sweeper, slider, whatever they call it. I think that he's much better suited in the bullpen long term, but the A's are just such a catastrophe right now that they are just trying, well, we might as well throw him out there as a starter and see if he can turn into a good one, because what else do we have to lose? So that is your weekend. You should, again, I don't usually go into series asking for a sweep. Even the worst teams in baseball win, 50 to 60 times a year. Okay. It's hard to sweep an opponent. But if you don't look like comfortably the better team and you don't take at least 2 of 3, if not sweep them, then you can't lose this series, is my point. You can't. You will completely take all of the wind out of the sails. that you have, kind of laid down and all this momentum that you've given the fan base and everything early on here, you will completely take all of that away if you were to somehow drop a series to the Oakland A's. So don't do that, please. We talked about our pitching. Scooby game 1. Again, no reason that Scooble versus JP Sears is not a win. And then we talked about the other two. Saturday, really, Maeda versus Blackburn, I guess maybe is. And now watch, because baseball, it'll be the opposite. But we'll see. So that's your weekend preview. We're going to do that today instead of tomorrow, because we'll have 2 games to go over tomorrow. And I'll see y'all then. All right? Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow, hopefully talking about 2 wins against the Mets, Casey Mize and Matt Manning. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.